Right, so trumpets here, and the question of the day is, of course, who is to blame for the lap 71 collision between Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton? And to be honest, if you want to know who I really blame, I blame the sodding fools at the FIA because they are intent on micromanaging the racers around the course to the point where we won't have any actual racing anymore. And if you want me to blame somebody else, well then fine, I'll blame Mercedes because they want to have their cake and eat it too. If you're going to let the two of them race, then let them race. The occasional collision will be an inevitable result of two people who want something that badly. And to be honest, it was way the hell more exciting than almost anything else we've seen, well, in this season pretty much, except for maybe Monaco in my opinion. In fact, it turns out that the last time we had a last lap pass was 2011. For goodness sakes, they've been fortunate that neither driver has been in the other's vicinity when they've been off winning races by minutes and hours and days, it would seem like to most of your average fans. So, you want to know who I blame? I blame all of those people. As far as I'm concerned, it was excellent racing, and it was finally exciting to see something like that come to fruition. And Mercedes, you can't have it both ways. If you want the marketing rewards of letting them race, you got to pay for it with the occasional collision. Otherwise, well, you have earned your Death Star moniker as far as I'm concerned.
I don't believe that was Hamilton's fault in any way, shape or form. Equally, was it Nico's fault? Well, clearly he turned in far too late, but we got to ask ourselves why that was. Mercedes and Nico himself said that brakes were failing at that point, but was there a little bit more to it? I mean, we know he was understeering a lot at that point of the race. His front tyres are completely shot. Yes, his brakes had gone as well, but certainly during racing, you don't really want to brake and turn at the same time. If you're travelling that fast into that corner and your brakes have suddenly gone, the last thing you want to do is turn and brake at the same time. You'll lock the front axle up and you'll just go and understeer off the track. So you want to brake in a straight line. Possibly Nico braked in a straight line. Unfortunately, Hamilton was turning in as well, so that is a possibility in my mind. Certainly, I think though Rosberg definitely deserved a penalty for not really allowing Hamilton back onto the track.
I tend to agree with most people on this, that it was mainly Rosberg's fault, but Hamilton was no saint in this. The first thing was that he said that Rosberg was in his blind spot. Now I know these cars are very hard to see out of, but you know, these guys, they race within millimetres of each other. He would have known that Rosberg, especially if he had brake failure, wouldn't have made that apex. And so I'm not sure I totally buy that argument. The second one is when Hamilton was going back onto the track, he really came at it quite quickly, just like Raikkonen did a few years ago at Silverstone. And I don't think that was the right thing to do either. I'm not sure if they touched as he came back on, but certainly the sparks started flying directly afterwards, and he nearly had another accident. So I think Rosberg was mainly at fault, but actually Hamilton was no saint either.
To stop the F1 stewards getting sued every week by teams with gazillions of dollars and lawyers wanting to protect their investments, the FIA, in its wisdom, has decided to try and in detail prescribe the rules of combat on track for Formula 1 drivers. For me, this has merely served to neuter the sport and, in Spice Boy Horner terminology, is killing off our racing heroes. In my view, if you want to be all regulatory and anal and finicky, Lewis turned his car into a space that didn't exist and hit his teammate, which isn't a very smart thing to do, and it was this single act alone which caused the collision. Also, I've seen it argued tonight on social media that Lewis Hamilton returned to the track in an unsafe manner. A bit Kimi Raikkonen at Silverstone, but again, no penalty for that. And finally, here's a thought. Despite Toto Wolff's apparent sheep in wolf's clothing, fake, apoplectic fit of anger in front of the live TV cameras, note, the media were not discussing another weekend of woeful and tragic Ferrari F1 race strategy, just Mercedes. A perfect PR and marketeer's dream.